you asking me? I'm so happy that I'm here.
Well, good.
Of course, it's always a possibility. This is the NFL, man. You know what I mean? But I'm in Cleveland, baby. I'm not going nowhere. I ain't fucking leaving.
All right, welcome into Off the Leash. I'm Ashley Holder. That's Mark Schwab and Leah Doherty. OBR's Fred Greetham. He's taking a little bit of vacation time, hanging out with his family, but he is definitely here in the spirit. But David Njoku, tight end for the Cleveland Browns, is officially not coming back to the Browns. He posted on Instagram earlier this week. He said, Cleveland, first off, I love you. These 9 years have been a beautiful journey. I am so grateful for all the memories we shared together. Thank you to the Haslams, Andrew Berry, and the whole Browns organization for everything. All my teammates I shared the battle with. I'm so grateful for you guys. The time for me to find a new home has come, and all I can think of is the greatness in my heart. The city of Cleveland will forever be home, which is interesting because that clip was back in November, and he said he wasn't freaking going anywhere, and now he is, in fact, freaking going somewhere.
I wonder how much of that had to do with on November 5th he didn't think Kevin Stefanski would get fired. Right?
Also, even with or without Kevin Stefanski, like, they hardly used him last year. I think we had a true or false or something about, right, if he was going to return again.
Yeah, or they should pursue him.
Yes.
Yeah, that was it. Should they pursue him?
No, I mean, when you look at Harold Fannin Jr., we knew there's going to be a big offensive overhaul in this offseason. So I think it's kind of mutual. I don't think they would want to bring him back. He doesn't want to come back, probably because he doesn't see a strong future here. Could be Kevin Stefanski, could be for whatever reason, but even with Stefanski, I mean, he didn't do much last year. He did hardly anything.
I mean, his whole career here, 9 years, has been 384 receptions, 4,062 yards, and 34 touchdowns. It seems like a lot more of that production happened, a couple of years ago, rather than the last 2 seasons. He's pretty much been. I mean, he's been kind of irrelevant.
He's been underwhelming for a guy. I'd say the career is underwhelming for somebody who was a first-round pick. And a lot of times first-round tight ends, it's a position that traditionally, other than the last couple of years, but traditionally it's taken a while to develop. I think he took a little longer than maybe you would have expected for a first-round tight end. But even when he hit his stride, it was good. It wasn't great. It was good. Got with a good coach with Kevin Stefanski. I think Stefanski challenged him and told him some things he needed to hear, and David responded well to it. Remember, it started with him asking for a trade. I think when they signed it was Austin Hooper, because, that's the kind of guy, if he's coming in, you can't beat out Austin Hooper. But then it settled down, and David loved being here, and we had the quote earlier, and I'm sure at the time he absolutely meant it. But the career was fine. 4,000 yards over 9 years is but it's fine. I bet you he ends up in Atlanta. They are probably going to need a guy. From talking to the Falcons people that covers that team, they don't expect Kyle Pitts to be back. Kevin Stefanski loves David Njoku. If they need a tight end, why wouldn't that happen?
I do think their relationship has been cool to watch, because hearing early on, and Njoku's gotten a little more open about it. Stefanski even got more open about how they did not have a good relationship early on. Like you hinted to, Stefanski had to have some hard truths with him, and he's a guy that I think really matured in Cleveland, coming from just like wanting to do his own thing, butting heads with Stefanski, maybe not, loving the city as much or whatever, and has really just kind of come to grow and love the city. I mean, we would go and cover his charity softball game that he would do, and it's just when he talked about how much he loved Cleveland and used some expletives or whatever, like this was a guy that really genuinely loved Cleveland, and I think he's had a cool, I don't know, kind of like full circle moment how he's come around to where he'd become a lot more of a valuable and productive piece than you maybe would have thought early on.
I don't see him having like a bunch of teams coming at him, for him to join the team. But I can see definitely a couple of teams that would say, hey, I think that this could bolster our offense. Like when you look at, I know they're about to go through a huge change now that Kubiak's there, but when you look at the Raiders, I'm sure that David Njoku is better than Ian Thomas. I'm just saying, like, and these are names that you're probably not even familiar with.
I know who Ian Thomas is, Carolina, but they also have the kid from Notre Dame they drafted.
Right.
Behind Bowers.
I'm just saying.
He's not
if you're
one of the
going with 2 tight ends, I'm just saying,
right.
like, names like that. That's what I mean by you can use those. But I also don't believe that he made this decision. I believe that the Browns, in my personal opinion, probably told him, hey, I don't think we're going to retain you. They had that conversation, and I feel like he was just the one that beat them to the punch. of just saying, okay, I'm gonna make it seem like I'm leaving on my terms.
Yeah.
That's just my personal opinion because I don't see the Browns saying, hey, we want you to stay, unless it's like, okay, we'll just pay you the vet minimum or something like that, and pretty much forcing his hand to say, I'm just gonna leave.
To your point, I think unless this is he's going to Atlanta with Stefanski, which that'll get settled easily. If he doesn't go to Atlanta, feels like one of those free agents that the teams will wait till after the draft, right? Maybe they need a tight end. It's a decent. Sadiq is the big tight end out of Oregon. He's supposed to be the best one. The kid from Vanderbilt's there. There's one or two others. Kid from Ohio State. But, maybe they need a tight end and they don't draft one. Okay, now we'll talk about these veterans and maybe he gets signed sometime in May if he doesn't just jump to Atlanta. Here's a point of Njoku that doesn't get talked about enough. And I'll never forget this. The night they drafted him, Browns had 2 first-round picks, traded up to get Njoku. So he was their 3rd first-round pick of the night. It was the Myles Garrett draft. Then they took Peppers, the safety, and he hasn't really worked out. Then they traded up. And it's one of those on the clock, Browns. Mm-hmm. They took David Njoku. With the very next pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers took Watt. The Browns could have had Myles Garrett and T.J. Watt in the same draft. Imagine that conversation.
I don't know if they both would have been able to coexist.
That would have been insane.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Imagine those
That
two
is a
on each
lot.
end. Like, at some point, they probably would not have signed both of them. Like, they still wouldn't be together, right? Mm-hmm. But for those first 5, it would have been 5 years because both would have been on first-round deals. Goodness.
Well, it's funny because I feel like one thing I've learned about being in Cleveland is consistently, especially you and Fred talk about it a lot, of just how many picks you guys have messed up and could have. You're like, man, they could have had this. The Browns could have had this.
I mean, and
it's
listen,
like every year y'all could have had this. Y'all could have had this, and you just never do.
I get it because I mean that's not completely fair to do to every pick because every team makes bad picks and not everyone had Watt being this good or he doesn't fall to the late first round. But to have him be this good and to end up at the division rival 2 hours down the street, that's when you're like, man, why did they screw that one up? You can screw up the Peppers pick. Nobody talks about that anymore. Mm-hmm. But that's something about Njoku I'll never forget. The Browns valued him over T.J. Watt.
I'll never forget when he literally got his face burned by a bonfire on, a Friday night and played, was that the Ravens game on Sunday? Put on a helmet. I mean, we saw
Came
afterwards.
in there with the the scary mask. I don't remember what.
And that was. Like the epitome of David Njoku, like he's just a crazy guy. I mean, he'll walk out there when it's snowing, shirtless, barefoot, whatever. Like he's just a tough dude.
Yep.
And that's what you get with him. I mean, he's like to where he's crazy. I mean, he's crazy, some of the stuff that he does. But that's the benefit of him, too. And I think we just hadn't seen that as of late. That's what had been missing.
But you bring up the word crazy. And not saying that I'm saying he's crazy, but
I mean that in a positive way, by the way.
There's different ways to interpret crazy.
But I mean, I also think you have to look at some of these guys. They say like it's terrible for some of these guys to go home. Like it's not a good thing for them to go home because there's a lot of distractions or whatever. Sometimes I feel like when I look at David, I'm like, I don't think it's a good idea for him to go to a really big city. I think he should just stay in a smaller city like Cleveland or something like that because he is like
sign with the Panthers.
A lot of energy and things like so I will be interested to see where he ultimately falls, but I also don't see this becoming a huge deal or something. I don't think someone's going to get him for like 3 years, $50 million or something like that. I think they get him for a decent deal that probably he ends up, because I don't know how much the cards are in his hand. You know what I mean? To more so teams being like, look,
like how much leverage he has.
Yeah, this is what it's looking for you. Then it comes down to where you want to play. What's the city like? I think as people get older, especially in this sport, I do think they look at that too because look, every team is not going, you know what I'm saying, to the Super Bowl. But now that the Super Bowl is in the books, they've already done what they've done with David Njoku. Kevin Stefanski's out of here. Now Todd Monken's in the picture. They've got to figure out this roster and where they're going. There's a lot of free agents on this list right now. Joel Bitonio is one of the biggest. What's your guys' thoughts on, is Joel going to resign? Is he done? Does he go somewhere else? Does he follow Stefanski or, possibly another team? I mean, he said he's wanted to be in Cleveland, but the way he was crying in that wrap-up session on January 5th. I mean, I was not sure if he was going to retire or not.
If I had to take a guess, I would say he's done. I don't. This is just like my guess. I don't see him wanting to like go to another team and kind of pick up and move his family and go do all that just to follow Stefanski for maybe one more year, unless for some reason they have ties to Atlanta and he's really trying to go to Atlanta or something for a year. I think it would be hard, especially, and he said it before, like, I'm a loyal guy. He was really loyal to Kevin Stefanski, never said a negative thing about him. I think it would be hard to kind of start over in the sense of you have a brand new coach coming in. Like, we don't know how good this team's going to be. You know, like, you're just kind of starting over from square one, especially with the offense, with the rehaul they're going to have to do. Like, I don't know if I would have that in me. I don't know if that's something I'd be, if I'm toying with a retirement, like, unless she's really fired up about Todd Monken and has a prior relationship with him. It's just a lot to go through another season, what it physically, the toll it takes on your body. A new head coach, we still don't know what the quarterback situation is going to be. Like, for me, there wouldn't be enough to stick around. Like, he did it for last year, and, like, that was a miserable year. Like, unless he just thinks it's going to be slightly better.
I'm at the point with him, I'd be more surprised if he did not retire than if he did. I don't know if he goes anywhere, and if he decides to go play somewhere else, I don't know why he wouldn't go anywhere that isn't considered like a Super Bowl contender right now, which would not be Atlanta. We don't know if they have a quarterback. He could play here and not know if they have a quarterback. So unless one of those types of teams comes calling and he decides he wants to make a run at a ring, I think he just retires. I mean, but he's friends with Joe Thomas. Joe Thomas had a chance to go play with Denver when they were in a Super Bowl contender, and he did not want. He shot down the trade. He basically said, "Don't trade me." And he didn't.
Yeah.
And he stayed here, and he finished out his career. Those two are a lot alike. So I guess I'd be more surprised if Joel Bitonio did not retire than if he did. I'd be straight up stunned if he went and played somewhere else.
You feel like it's either he retires or he stays here. And
yeah,
plays
pretty
for
much.
another year.
And I think he's probably retiring. I mean, if he's crying in the locker room, how many guys do that if they don't? If they think they're coming
every
back?
time he was coming up to the podium, he was holding his back. He was just, you could tell he was in so much pain. And I have one of my really good friends was offensive lineman for the Kansas City Chiefs. He said his goal was just to play 5 years. Simply, that's all he wanted to do was play 5 years, and that's exactly what he did. But he said he would talk about the way that just his hands would just be in so much pain when he would just put his hands into the ground, to get ready to go. And I always think about that in these conversations. He was like, nah, I'm good. Like, my body's in so much pain. So I think about that with Joel when I see him walking up to the podium and he's like, oh man, I'm tired. Like, my body's always like, my back hurts, whatever. And I'm over here like, oh man, my shoulders are a little like, I'm not even playing professional football, but I can imagine how much of the toll, takes on it. And like you said, there's really no plan in place, and there hasn't been a plan in place for a couple of years now, and they're still trying to figure it out. And now they're figuring it out with a whole new, essentially like a whole new coaching staff, even though some of those, prime guys are kind of still there, but you don't have, the familiarity essentially of those guys in those positions that he had before when he was here.
And think about the overhaul they're going to have to do just on the O-line. I mean, like, why would you want to? It's your entire position group is going to be wiped. So, like, do you really want to have to go through that too of like playing with
all new guys?
But
a lot of them
think that
young.
matters too of how much if they want a guy that has been here that long to help, whether it's.
I think they want him.
That's if it's like young guys. I'm not saying if they're bringing a bunch of vets in or something like that, but just of like what he represents and how long he's been here and how he knows that this is the way it flows and how he can lead that line. I can see that. But that's a lot to put on someone that's pretty much on their way out at the same time. But like you said, we don't know if they have a quarterback. Still trying to figure that out. But according to Myles Garrett, they're looking at Shedeur Sanders.
4 quarterbacks, the challenges. Do y'all have the guy? Is Shedeur the guy?
That's what we're looking at as a guy. We're going to give him a shot to prove that he's a guy. So we're not going to give anyone that title until they go out there and earn it. And he was the last person to be on the field, and he showed some flashes. So we're going to give him an opportunity to show what we can really do, uncork the ball.
Yeah, you paying another guy $46 billion. Is he going to get a shot?
I feel like everyone on the roster is going to get a shot. Now, he was the last guy on the field, so he's obviously going to get first service. And Deshaun, whoever else on the roster, they're going to get a real look.
I love how Micah Parsons is just, stirring a little
Everyone in the
stuff
crowd
up.
was like, ooh.
Yeah, and I'm like, man, Micah, get out of here. Like, y'all got your own problems, what you worried about. But, I kind of felt like Miles was leaning towards, like, Shador's that guy. That's who we're looking at. And then it was kind of cleaned up. I mean, because that was the last guy on the field. You know what I mean? That's why, all right, well, you're paying this guy, almost $50 million. He going to, well, of course, like, we're not saying that.
He's on the roster.
Guys, I think you pretty much said, like, they're looking at Shador. And I think, man, I think it's going to be Shador. Like, I believe that's who they're looking at as a guy. And I don't think it's because he was just the last guy on the field.
That's interesting. I disagree. I feel like I interpreted Myles Garrett saying that as like, by default, he's the quarterback that we have right now. So like he'll have to go out and earn his spot. Like I didn't take that as a resounding like Myles Garrett, like I'm believing in Shador and I'm backing Shador. I took that as like, he's currently our starting quarterback. Therefore, like, yeah, he's going to get the first shot to be our starting quarterback. And like anyone that goes out there, you got to earn it. Like to me, I didn't hear, he said he showed flashes. Like, that was it. Like, that wasn't a resounding vote of, like, he's the guy, I think, moving forward for XYZ.
I took it as him saying he's the guy for now, not he's the guy.
Well, we'll see, okay? I think it's Shador. All right, well, we'll take a really quick break. We'll be right back on Off the Leash.
Off the Leash continues. Yes, we're into the offseason. The program never stops, people, because there's always stuff to talk about with the Browns. The big news this week was Jim Schwartz resigning and basically saying, I'm gone. And I think a lot of us saw this happening, coming, and so nobody should be too surprised here. The Browns obviously have a very talented defense, and they are going to try to find a candidate to come in and continue the work Schwartz was doing. And they've already said they're going to keep the same system. True or false, the Browns defense will experience a drop-off without Jim Schwartz.
Ooh. What do you want to go first, Ashley?
No.
No.
Because my first thing would have said, well, and then you'd have been like, just answer the question.
You're going to do the gray area. Oh, define drop-off.
Great question.
Thank you.
So actually, I had to look at this because I was trying to decide, should I put a qualifier in here on how to find this? The Browns are actually the fourth best defense in the league at total yards per game, right? So from that, I'm thinking, boy, that they could fall to fifth, and we're going to call that a drop-off. You looked at other statistics. Their points per game, they were middle of the pack. I want to say they were 14th or 15th. And yards given up against the run, they were middle of the pack. They were really good against the pass. I think they were third in the league against the pass, fourth in the league overall. So this is a little bit of we'll know it when we see it. But points per game, they were kind of average as far as surrendering it. So however you want to slice that, if you want to put a qualifier on it, I understand that completely. Sometimes it's noticeable. Sometimes, no, I think they'll be better at this or worse than this particular thing. However you guys want to phrase it.
That's what's hard. I don't think we'll see like a noticeable drop-off in terms of to where we're saying this Browns defense is bad.
Okay, so you'll say false. Sure. You're not. I guess the way to explain this is next season we won't be going, they missed Jim Schwartz. That's what what we're getting at.
Yeah.
I would say, I'm sorry, the question was
true or false? The Browns defense
too confusing.
will experience a drop-off.
I say false. I actually believe a little bit in Todd Monken's, what he was saying, basically saying like it's the players and it's not necessarily the coach. I think that Schwartz is very good at going out there, pushing them and getting the best out of them. But I do believe wholeheartedly it's the players. I don't see Myles Garrett falling off. We don't know if JOK is ever making his way back. Like they could also bolster up, get some more players. I mean, Malik should be good to come back next year.
They were talking Collins.
Yeah, I would say depending on where his rehab and how that goes, and as long as everything goes well, I don't see them falling off. Like for what you're explaining, like a significant fall off. Like no, I could see them getting better. Especially, I feel like if that offense gets under control and gets better, I could see them wanting to push because now you can make a real big push for the wild card. And I think that only gives them more motivation. And I do think that Myles can keep that defense in check.
I think so too. I would say false. I think they'll be fine, especially since they want to keep the same system. And if they promote from within, whether it's Tarver or one of the other guys, it feels more like just a continuation.
Get that buy-in then if you have a familiar guy you're already promoting from within.
I do feel, as much as we talk about this defense as being really good, and it is, they had moments where they weren't. Like, the most unexplainable game and most inexcusable game to me is Tennessee. A team that couldn't run the ball at all, came in here and ran all over you. Now, that was a Jim Schwartz. I could see them having a game or two like that next year, but they did that with Jim Schwartz. So if you have one or two of those, you're not going to be like, oh, see, No, you had some problem areas I think he's, obviously, we all think Schwartz is really good. I'm with you guys, though. The players are the engine that drives the thing. Promote from within, keep the same system, give me some continuity.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that would be a really incredible fall off if that were to happen, because I mean there is too many good players on that defensive side of the ball between just Miles, Grant Delpit, and Denzel Ward alone.
Returning them all.
Yeah, returning them all to just be.
I mean, the only wild card here is
that's kind of crazy.
Is like 3 or 4 of their best players get hurt, then I don't know if we can say that's on not having Schwartz.
Right, exactly. All right, we're gonna take a really quick break on Off the Leash. We will be right back. All right, Super Bowl 60 is in the books, and the Seattle Seahawks kicked the Patriots' booty and took that.
Boring.
Took that one. Man, what a terrible Super Bowl. I mean, just so boring. But we knew that. Once you saw Bo Nix go down, you kind of saw where this was going. There was no hope for them. And for any Patriots fan that actually thought this was going to be a good game, just dumb. Anyways, there were some. There was some local.
Ashley has no tolerance for you.
I don't have any tolerance for it. There were some local guys though from Northeast Ohio that were in the Super Bowl on the Seahawks alone. Montori Foster, who was a substitute teacher at St. Ed's, which is crazy. Mm-hmm. Also AJ Barner, who got the only offensive touchdown, which was pretty cool. And then Kobe Bryant from Glenville. Yep. Super awesome. So all those guys, congratulations to you guys, our Super Bowl champs. I mean, pretty cool to see Northeast Ohio on the national stage for that.
It's always
It's not going to be the Browns, so it has to be some local guy. That's my only comment.
No, I mean it's always one of the fun side stories of the Super Bowl, either in the run up to it or in the aftermath. There's usually somebody in it, in this case, multiple somebodies, with ties to this area. Either they went to high school here, or maybe they went to college here. One year, Julian Edelman was one of the top players. I think even won MVP. I went down to Kent State the next day and did a story on him. You had Ted Ginn and Bob Mahalik on the Zoom this week talking about this. It doesn't matter if your team's not in it. Your area probably still has some connection to the great game every year, and it's always a fun thing to talk about.
And we talked to both their high school coaches, like you said, Ted Ginn Sr. and Bob Mahalik, and they were so happy for them. They were just beaming. I mean, and Glenville, man, they've been here. Like Kobe is the 9th guy to come out of that. They've produced that. And then for AJ to be the first guy to go to the Super Bowl and also win a Super Bowl, it's pretty cool for Aurora.
I loved seeing it for Aurora. You're right. I've done this story many times with Glenville. Dante Whitner went there. I think Ted Ginn was in a Super Bowl junior. We've seen a lot of them. To see the Aurora Greenmen featured, and a green man catches the first offensive touchdown of the game. That was awesome. Way to go, Aurora.
All right, next up is the Cleveland Browns Super Bowl 61 at SoFi.
We'll be waiting. Book our flights to LA.
We're going to wait a long time.
All right, well, that is another episode of Off the Leash. Make sure you check us out wherever you get your podcasts, and check us out on the 19 News Plus app. For Ashley Holder, Mark Schwab, and Leah Doherty, this is Off the Leash.